Please remember, folks, to also go to the page Politics Done Right and like the page so that you're informed when we're coming out on air or when we're coming on Facebook Live or when we're doing them both. So come on in. But folks, do you know what time it is? It's time for the weekly blog post. Okay, the title of the blog post today, folks, is called The Resistance is Real and We Are Living It in Texas. And this one goes live on Sunday at Daily Kos as well. Here we go. DailyKos.com, that is. And here we go. Donald Trump presents a silver lining that, if realized, may be the panacea for a red state like Texas and other red states as well. In an odd kind of way, Trump just may be the catalyst the progressives movement needed. President Obama emerged at a time when the American political establishment, Republicans and Democrats alike, had given the keys to the plutocracy. Of course, you know what happened. They blew up the economy and they did all that was necessary to blow things up. Anyway, trickle-down economics under Reagan and Bush, along with the repeal of Glass-Steagall and NAFTA under Clinton, made every poor and middle-class American nothing but widgets and commodities in our economy. President Obama created a coalition twice to win 2 elections healthily. He won them pretty big. He won them much bigger than, electorally that is, than Trump did. And moreover, he won huge popular votes compared to Trump. So when Trump goes out there, folks, and talk about how big his victory was, remember that Trump, first of all, did not have a popular vote victory. Most people voted for somebody else. Most people voted for Hillary Clinton. And his electoral college win was minute compared to Reagan standards, compared to Bush 1 standards, compared to Obama standards. He was not even close. So that is all hyperbole, the definition of who Trump is. Anyway, as I mentioned before, President Obama created a coalition twice to win 2 elections, but the ex-president did not create a movement. He did not nurture the coalition post-election. Instead, he spent most of his time attempting changing the policies he believed in to make it more palatable for blue dog Democrats and Republicans. You see how well that worked? That process emboldened the opposition, which is a numerical minority that became a political majority. That stance ultimately decimated the Democratic Party throughout the country. Had President Obama nurtured and grown his nation movement, he would have had a better Affordable Care Act, a better stimulus, and more engaged grassroots to mitigate Republican fallacies and attacks and sneak attacks. So far, Donald Trump continues to prime his constituents, albeit a small but vocal movement. President Obama rarely did that. Trump is in constant contact with his supporters, and he does almost nothing to undermine even the most petulant of them. Many times, President Obama would seem to throw his left under the bus. Americans are no longer waiting for a messiah. They have finally taken one president they have taken on one of President Obama's most effective messages to heart. And you know what that message was, or what that message still is? You are who you have been waiting for. Again, you are who you have been waiting for. A document prepared by a few political representative staffers have caught fire. It gave millions of Americans a little guidance to become the catalyst for a real grassroots movement that's been building organically. The indivisible guide is everywhere. It is in the hands of working Americans, homemakers, middle-class people, poor people, activists, and those who have never protested or been activists in their lives. The indivisible movement, the resistance is real. It is the indivisible movement along with others. More importantly, it is attached to no party. Again, let me specify that categorically. The indivisible movement, the resistance is real. More importantly, it is attached to no party. It is decidedly progressive like most of the country. Many fail to acknowledge our progressive proclivity in polls, but when asked about our wants and desires in policy and life, they follow the progressive tenets irrespective of party affiliation. The fallacy of an overtaxed average American built the Tea Party. Bread and butter issues that are afflicting most Americans is building an already significant indivisible movement. Let me repeat that. The fallacy of an overtaxed average American built the Tea Party. In other words, they built it on false premises. Bread and butter issues that are afflicting most Americans is building an already significant indivisible movement. Middle class and poor Americans never benefit from tax cut windfalls. In fact, it costs them more. Again, all these people, including some of your Trump Tea Party and Trump brethren who talks about tax cuts or whatever, they never feel the real impact of those tax cuts. They never do. The middle class and poor are asked to pay more for tuition. They're asked to pay more on toll roads. They're asked to pay more on increased licensing fees. They're asked to pay more on increased healthcare costs and many other increased fees that would otherwise be taken care of by fair taxation. By fair taxation. So when you hear a middle class person or a poor person fighting for we need to have a cut in taxes, we need to have that, it benefits them not. It does not benefit them at all. It benefits a few. And you know who pays that bill? The middle class and the poor. And you're living it right now. The results of your 401k, the results of your increased cost in medical care, the results of the increased cost in your tuition, the results are all of those directly related to policies that doesn't support you. You fight for it thinking they made you believe it supported you. You fought for it, but it doesn't support you at all. Americans are figuring that out. Americans are figuring that out. Donald Trump convinced many in the right areas that the establishment, Republican and Democratic alike, screwed them. Trump made himself the establishment annihilator. To be clear, Hillary Clinton had policies that were decidedly progressives, if even with too much of a corporate bias. It would not, or rather, it would have been orders of magnitudes better for Americans than the return of trickle-down economics on steroids under Donald Trump. The 2016 election did not enthuse most Americans. They were willing to accept Hillary Clinton, but they did not go out in droves to the polls. The election of Trump caught them completely off guard. Trump did not fool most. They just thought he simply could not win. Unfortunately, America is not a democracy because of the Electoral College and ancient constitutional aberration. It does not matter what Americans want. It is about who you are and where you vote. America only comes close to a democracy if everyone votes. Americans realize that they must do something. The burgeoning indivisible movement is their tool. In Houston, there are almost daily rallies, letter writings, meetings, and other events forcing the hands of politicians. As a political blogger, I get tons of emails. Many people read in my posts on recent protests and actions, make contact about getting involved. But this morning I received some icing on the cake. My phone rang early this morning. It woke me up. The woman on the other side of the line told me she has been scanning the internet and ran across my name and number and decided to call because she wanted to get involved. She said she has never been politically active, but had to get off of the sidelines. She said her husband is staunchly Republican and she did not know what she is. Read, she's a soft Republican. The woman said she wanted to get involved because she understands that she needs to do her part. The lady told me she does not want to be too out there out of respect for her husband, but he knew that she intended to activate. And you know what? She will be activated. The indivisible movement and a more enabled progressive movement is real. The resistance is as real in Texas as it is throughout the country. Politicians, again, you politicians out there, Democrat and Republican alike, you dismiss it at your own peril. You dismiss it at your own peril. We are at a flex point. You dismiss it at your own peril.